Hi there and welcome to week 4 of Seed Starting Saturdays. My name is Lisa Mason Ziegler and I'm really glad that you've decided to join me here at the Gardener's Workshop Farm as we walk through a seed starting season, just kind of showing you what we're doing and giving you some tips and tricks along the way. So this week I'm going to actually make some blocks, I'm going to make some blocks and pot up a small block into a bigger one and look at a couple other things here. But before we get started, if you haven't already signed up down below this video to have the live video dropped into your inbox every Saturday morning, you can do that below. If you haven't received our latest catalog, you can also sign up on our website to get one of these. Well, we do a bulk mailing about once a month. So as soon as we get enough names, we will head on into that. And something I haven't mentioned yet is that, I have 3 books. I know some of you probably know that. And so this book is called The Easy Cut Flower Garden, and this is really a guide for the home gardener to have a 3x10 cutting garden in their backyard that'll produce like 2 bouquets a week. It's really straightforward, simple, and easy. It's available on our website. And my book, Cool Flowers, which is all about cool season flowers, when to plant them, why you plant them, when you plant them. But more importantly, what I wanted to really point out, there's a whole chapter on seed starting in this book that takes you through step by step, as well as a whole chapter on preparing the garden and just my recommended ways of doing that. You can actually buy these 2 as a set at a discounted price on our website, as well as their autographed copies. So please check out the website for that. And then the 3rd book was about our little sweet dog, Babs, our farm dog. And this is a book that anybody that loves dogs or children would really love this book. And we currently just lost Babs. So it's a really, really special thing to have her and just her crazy ways on our flower farm. She was really a lot of fun. So those are some of our books that you can get on the website. And one more thing, I know that we talk a lot about cool season flowers. Well, if you are interested in planting cool season vegetables, this little garden planner that's also available on our website, I think it's like $5. This little red line right here, you move it to your frost date, and I'm looking at this upside down, so I've moved it to my frost date, and then it tells you when to plant. There's 22 different vegetables listed here: onions, peas, corn, tomatoes, carrots and chard and just a lot of different things. It tells you when you can first plant them. It can tell you when to expect to harvest. So like for instance, it's telling me that on March 8th, I should be planting onion sets and peas out in the garden. So while I give lots of information on flowers, a lot of this cool season growing applies to vegetables too, and this little planner will help you figure it out. And even cooler, when you flip it over on the back, it's for fall. So it'll tell you, again, you find your last frost date with this red line, and mine's like mid-November. It's right there. So then I look, tomatoes. It tells me that the last time that I can plant tomatoes out is July 19th. So, and then it'll tell me when to expect to harvest. So this is a handy thing, tells you when to start seeds, when to transplant out. So this will lead you on the cool season vegetables, which is a really, really great thing to help guide you so you kind of feel a little bit more assured about when you're supposed to do things. So this week I'm going to actually make some blocks and sow some seeds, and then I'm going to actually also plant up a block into the larger block. So I'm not going to talk a lot about the actual soil blocking, because on our website there is tons of information about the actual steps. If you go to Lisa's Tips and Tricks, there's a whole category on soil blocking. There are videos, there are frequently asked questions, there are tons of blogs, there's just an assortment. So I've mixed my blocking mix. I do want to say that even with us making tons, we do about 100,000 seedlings a year. And even doing it like we're doing, we still measure in the same increments. This is the bag of the blocking mix that we sell. This is the full bag. It's about 20 cups. I measure my water. You can see this is a gallon jug. You put about 7 cups of water into one bag of our mix, which is about 20 cups. This just makes it simple. There is none of this, oh, add more water. I dumped my soil in, I dumped the water in, and I'm ready to roll. Potato masher works the best. So I'm going to make some small blocks here. And you can see I push it down twice to make sure the chambers are really nice and full. And then I take one of, this is the home garden size tray, just put it on and give it a push and a pull, and there they are. And I'm just going to show you, this little pan is what we dump our seeds into because it's aluminum and has no static cling. And those are some basil seeds. And I have moistened the toothpick with a little saliva, and you can see that that basil just jumped right on. Basil needs light to germinate, so you just firmly place it onto the top of the block. And as you can see, it very easily jumps onto the tooth. I'm doing this kind of in an awkward position. We actually get pretty darn quick at this. And that's sowing the seeds. So it's really simple and easy. And then we put these onto, as we spoke about last week, put them onto heat until they germinated. And let's have a look here at these seedlings. These are Sweet Williams that were sown January 25th. Today is February 1st, so they're 6 days into life. And you can see that they're just now starting to crack. So we sowed their seeds on the 25th, and then this tray went onto a heat mat. They are still on the heat mat. They will be moved from the heat to the light tomorrow. Once I feel like 50% of them are showing life, I then move them off of the heat into the light. So that's kind of the steps of that their life will follow. These are the stock plants that you saw last week, I think, and the week before. These were started on January 12th. Again, today is February 1st, so these are almost 3 weeks old, and these will be going out to the garden in just a week. So I want to talk about that for just a minute before I show you how to pot these up, or how you would pot up a transplant to the next size. These stock plants will be going to the garden next week. So I've been getting a lot of questions from people about hardening off. Hardening off means how you move them outdoors to get them acclimated to outdoor conditions. And I will tell you that I wanted to talk about this because for me, it's totally different hardening off cool season stuff versus warm season. Warm season seedlings really have to be hardened off carefully because the heat is so tough on them. Cool season stuff, transplants, aren't nearly as vulnerable. Cool is just not as hard on plants as hot is, as you can believe that or not. So these seedlings will almost practically not even be hardened off. We'll take them from our little transplant room that you saw last week where they're growing under grow lights, straight out to be planted into the garden next week if all goes well. They'll be planted. We will hoop and cover them with the row cover just to give them wind protection, to allow them to get acclimated. And then after about 3 or 4 weeks, we'll probably uncover them because they'll take the cold, but it's all the other elements that are tough on them. So hardening off, cool season stuff, you kind of just be smart about it. If you're going to hoop and cover in the garden, you don't really have to harden off cool season stuff, or at least we don't. And as I said, summer's totally different than that. So these guys will be going to the garden next week, but we're just going to pretend for just a few minutes that these are tomatoes. And oftentimes people like to pot tomatoes up to the next size block to get a bigger, more mature transplant before it goes to the garden, right? So that means they can get their tomatoes just a little bit early, especially you folks that live in the northern part of the country where your growing season isn't quite as long as ours is down here. So we're just going to assume that these are tomatoes, and I'm going to actually, let's see, what am I going to do? I'm going to cut off, just pop out a couple of these little transplants that we're going to pot up, and you'll get to see too. So you can see that, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's just gorgeous little roots hanging out of this little transplant. They aren't very long at all. That's about a 2-inch plant. If you were going to pot up a small block into a large block, this is the optimal size to do it. You don't want tons of roots hanging loose and, you know, running into its neighbor yet. It's just easier. Again, it's all about timing. So now I am going to make, I wanted to make some 2-inch blocks because it's a little different technique the way that I do it over the way many other people do it. But first I want to show you the 2-inch block comes with these white nipples. That's to make a dimple to receive a large seed. You can also purchase these inserts, pop these out, install these, and this makes a perfect hole to receive that small block. So normally you would have all inserts on here, but this is my demo blocker, so it's got some of each. So this is the 2-inch blocker, and you can see I've made a pile of mix. Takes a lot more mix to make the 2-inch block. So I am just filling up the chambers and pushing it down in. You have to pay special attention to the 2 end blocks. That's why I kind of always am gulping. So let's see how this goes here. So again, you want to scraping off the excess off the bottom is really important because that controls the depth of the block, and if it's too much on the bottom, then you'll run into problems. So here we are on the tray, and you're going to put the block, and the 2-inch blocks suction a little bit more than the other blocks do. And so you can see that we've made 4 blocks, 2 with dimples. Like if you were going to sow squash seeds or sunflowers, you would push them down in there, and I would still use the toothpick. Messing with these blocks when they aren't infused with roots, they're very vulnerable. So let's just say here's our little stock plant, which we're pretending is going to be a tomato plant, and literally you are just dropping and you just giving it a little push to seal it right in, and that's it. There is no other work to be done. That is potting up from the small block to the large block, and that little transplant will just send out its roots into that 2-inch block and grow on to be a bigger, more mature transplant and stay healthy while you're still indoors. So the other thing that I wanted to mention, a lot of folks, particularly people that are growing commercially that need, people that need beyond the little tabletop grow light that we offer. Folks that are growing a lot more than that. I've had lots of questions about if you can use shop lights. Yes, you can use a shop fixture. There are grow lights, aquarium lights that do a great job, but you can also use T8 light bulbs. I've had a lot of questions about that. We use cool T8 bulbs, and they do a fine job. The difference between using light for transplants, which are not long-term plants in your inside your home, this is just a temporary stayover. You're not trying to get blooms. You're just growing vegetation. So those most lights, if they're low enough and they're right, the light that these plants just came from was right here, right on top. And in a tray this wide, it has 4 light bulbs lighting this up. And if you have seedlings on the edges that are leaning, you can look at them and tell they're stretching, there's not enough light distribute. So you'll have to kind of check that out and see. So I hope that this information has been helpful. And to get started with your seed starting, gather your stuff, get your seeds, and now is the time to plow in. So we still are not starting warm season seeds. We are still deep in the depths of starting very early spring planted stuff. You know, our kales and lettuces and sweet williams and pot marigolds and so many other cool season flowers. And again, if you're looking for that list, you can go to our website under seeds, and we list the flowers, whether it's a warm or a cool season. So I hope that these videos are helping. And don't forget to go to Lisa's tips and tricks on our website, and that kind of will lead you to some of the different resources that we have. Lots of videos, as well as there's a new table of contents to my blogs, which at least just lets you look at titles to kind of find more information. So hopefully that'll help you, and it really helps us when you post your questions and comments on the website, and I am doing my best. I just answered hundreds of them, so hopefully you will post them here. That really helps, and share it with your friends. Like it, comment, and share it on Facebook. That really helps us also, and it allows us to just keep on making all this educational stuff that we love sharing with you. And hopefully I'll see you here next week for week 5.